Welcome back, Deep Divers. Ready for another knowledge expedition?
Always.
Today we're diving deep into the world of dopamine.
Oh, interesting.
It's a topic we see everywhere these days, right?
Yeah, seems like it.
You sent in this video all about it, and it got me thinking about, motivation, addiction, that whole idea of finding, like, genuine fulfillment.
It's a big one.
It really is.
Yeah.
So, ready to jump into this dopamine deep dive?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The video calls dopamine the desire and pleasure chemical, which I thought was an interesting way to put it.
It's a good way to sum it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's what drives us to achieve, but it's also...
It can be a bit of a double-edged sword. It's what motivates us, but it can also lead us astray.
Exactly. It's like that classic angel on one shoulder, devil on the other scenario playing out in our brains.
And it's fascinating how it all ties back to our evolution, right?
Oh, totally.
I mean, think about our ancestors.
Okay, yeah.
Dopamine is what pushed them to find food, find shelter.
To survive.
There's basic survival instincts. They're hardwired into us, and dopamine is a big part of that.
So it's like our brain saying, hey, you managed not to get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger today.
Right.
Good job. Here's a little dopamine reward.
Exactly. It's that feeling of, I did it. I survived another day.
It makes you wonder how different their drive to achieve would be if they suddenly had, like,
a smartphone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, like, endless buffets.
Unlimited entertainment.
Right. Like, how much would that mess with their dopamine systems?
It's fascinating to think about, right?
It's like our brains haven't quite caught up to the modern world, have they?
Right.
Like, we're still wired for those hunter-gatherer days.
Exactly.
And that's, I think, where that whole, like, dopamine trap idea comes into play.
Absolutely.
Like, the video used this really interesting visual with these two graphs.
Yeah, the graphs.
To kind of show how chasing those quick dopamine hits can actually backfire.
Yeah.
When it comes to, like, long-term happiness and fulfillment.
It's so true. And it all comes down to understanding your baseline.
Your baseline dopamine.
Yeah. We tend to focus so much on those peaks of pleasure.
The highs, the excitement.
Right. But it's that underlying sense of contentment.
Okay.
That baseline level of motivation and just general well-being that actually matters most.
So it's not just about, like, those temporary highs.
No.
But, like, how we feel on average, day to day.
Exactly. It's about the bigger picture.
Okay, that's interesting.
So let's break down those graphs a bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
That first graph, it shows what happens when we're constantly chasing those quick hits,
Okay, I'm with you.
Scrolling through social media, binging on junk food.
The instant gratification stuff?
Exactly. It feels good in the moment, right?
Of course.
But there's a catch.
There's always a catch.
Right. Because what goes up must come down.
And then we're left wanting more.
Exactly. And each time we go through that cycle, our baseline, it actually dips a little lower.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's like we're chasing that initial high.
But it gets harder and harder to reach.
Exactly. We end up needing even more just to feel kind of normal again.
It's like digging yourself deeper into a hole every time.
It's a great way to put it.
You have to keep piling on more.
Yeah.
Just to get back to even.
Exactly. Now, that second graph, it offers a different perspective.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
This one illustrates the idea of embracing the pain.
Okay, now, hold on a second.
I know.
Embrace the pain. That doesn't sound very appealing.
Sounds counterintuitive, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
But stick with me on this.
Okay, I'm listening.
So this is about choosing activities that might be initially uncomfortable.
Okay.
Like pushing yourself to exercise.
Instead of just, sitting on the couch.
Exactly. Or delaying gratification instead of always giving in.
So it's about choosing the things that are good for us, even when they're hard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those choices, they might not be as immediately gratifying, but they lead to a more gradual, but ultimately more sustainable increase in our baseline.
So this is like the long game.
Exactly. It's about playing the long game with your happiness.
I like that, the long game.
It's about building those healthy dopamine pathways brick by brick.
Instead of just chasing those fleeting highs.
Exactly. And it's not about being perfect, it's about progress.
So small steps, sustainable changes.
Exactly. You got it.
So how do we actually, like, put this into practice?
That's the million-dollar question. Right.
It is. Because it's one thing to, like, understand the theory.
Right.
But then how do we actually make it work in our, crazy busy lives?
Exactly. And the video had some good takeaways on that front.
Yeah, it did. Like, it really emphasized being mindful of those easy reward activities. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. The things we do almost without thinking just to get that quick dopamine hit.
Yes. Like when you're scrolling through social media instead of like, finishing that project you've been putting off.
Been there. Or reaching for that bag of chips when really a walk would probably make you feel better.
It's like catching yourself in the act,
Yeah.
right? Because, I mean, it's not about like depriving ourselves entirely,
No,
right?
not at all. It's about balance and making more conscious choices.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of making conscious choices, the video mentioned something about a dopamine detox. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah. It's like hitting the reset button on your reward system.
Interesting. So it's about like breaking free from those kind of deeply ingrained patterns.
Exactly. Giving yourself a chance to really appreciate those simpler things, the things you might be overlooking.
The things that maybe don't provide that instant, intense dopamine rush, but like actually bring a deeper sense of fulfillment in the long run.
Exactly. And that ties into what I think was one of the most powerful points the video made. That real fulfillment, it comes from expanding our range of pleasures.
So not limiting ourselves to just those like quick hits.
Exactly. It's about rediscovering those dormant pleasures, those things that might have brought us joy in the past, but we've maybe forgotten about.
The video creator gave that example of like rediscovering simple food pleasures after a period of restrictive eating.
Yeah, it's amazing how our perception of pleasure can shift when we break free from that constant chase for the next dopamine rush.
So as we wrap up our dopamine deep dive, I think it comes down to this. What's one small change you can make today to start expanding your own pleasure range and experience, like a more genuine, sustainable kind of happiness? Maybe it's putting down your phone for an hour and, I don't know, going for a walk in nature, or trying that new hobby you've been curious about, or just like really savoring your next meal without any distractions. The possibilities are pretty much endless, right? The important thing is just start, to take that first step. And hey, if you're feeling inspired to explore these ideas even further, the video creator has a podcast, it might be worth checking out. Until next time, keep those minds curious and keep diving deep.